Level 1, Halcon. Lookout/out. It's 5:47 in the morning. The sky over Nuevo Laredo is still dark, that deep pre-dawn purple that makes everything look like it's underwater. You're sitting on the roof of a 2-story concrete blockhouse, the kind that looks abandoned from the street but isn't. There's a plastic chair up here, a bucket someone left months ago, a cracked cell phone with a cracked screen, and that's it. Below you, the street is empty. A stray dog trots across the intersection. A truck idles 2 blocks down, headlights off. You know that truck. You're supposed to know everything on this street. You are 16 years old. Your job is simple. At least that's what they told you when they handed you the phone. Watch the street. If you see a patrol car, a federal truck, a military convoy, anything that doesn't belong, you call the number saved under TO. You don't say much. You use the words they taught you. Está caliente means heat. Está limpio means clear. You don't use your real name. You don't ask questions. They're paying you $150 a week. In your neighborhood, that's more than your father made in a month before he stopped coming home. You were recruited by a guy named Gordo, not his real name, nobody uses real names, who grew up 3 streets over. He's 22 now, drives a clean truck, wears gold on both wrists. He found you outside the corner store 6 weeks ago. He didn't threaten you. He didn't have to. He just asked if you wanted to make money, and you said yes, because the alternative was nothing. The Halcon network runs along both sides of the river. Dozens of kids and adults stationed at corners on rooftops near the bridges. Some of them watch the Mexican side. Some of them watch the American side through binoculars from elevated points along the bank. The whole system is a nervous system, and you are one nerve ending firing signals up the chain. This morning, a black SUV with Tamaulipas plates rolls slowly down the street. You don't recognize it. Your thumb hovers over the call button. It slows near the corner, idles for 30 seconds, then keeps moving. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You don't call. False alarm. But your hand is still shaking when you put the phone down. You don't know it yet, but someone is watching you too. Watching how you handle that moment. That's how they decide if you move up. Level 2. Halcon de Puente, Bridge Watcher. 3 months later, you're not on the roof anymore. You're standing near the Puente Internacional, the international crossing bridge that connects Nuevo Laredo to Laredo, Texas. You look like everyone else here. A teenager in a plain shirt, scrolling a phone, leaning against a wall near a food cart. The smell of grease and corn and exhaust hangs in the air. Behind you, hundreds of cars and pedestrians pass through customs every hour. Your job is more specific now. You're watching for a particular type of movement. When a drug shipment is being moved through a port of entry, whether hidden in a car, in luggage, in the soles of shoes, the organization needs to know if CBP agents have shifted positions, if there's a secondary inspection lane open, if a K9 unit just came on shift. You watch, you count, you note patterns. You pass that information up the chain through a rotating series of prepaid phones that get swapped every 3 days. You've been given a new contact above you, a man they call El Contador, the accountant. Not because he does math, but because he counts everything. Agents, cars, faces. He's in his 30s, calm, always eating sunflower seeds. He meets you twice a week in different locations. He never sits with his back to a door. One afternoon, you notice something that makes your stomach drop. A customs agent you've been logging for weeks. A heavy-set man who always works the 3rd lane is today in the secondary inspection area. He never works secondary. You call it in. 40 minutes later, El Contador calls you back, asks you to describe exactly what you saw, what time, which lane. His voice is flat and professional. He says, "Bien," and hangs up. Later you'll find out a shipment got rerouted because of your call. You didn't stop anything. You helped move something through a different channel. That night, you get paid an extra $200 in cash, slid under the door of your aunt's house where you're staying. No note. You know who it's from. You tell yourself this isn't that serious. You're just watching. You're not moving drugs. You're not hurting anyone. You keep telling yourself that for a while. Level 3. Halcon Coordinator Networked Coordinator. You're 18 now. You're sitting in a small apartment above a tire shop in a colonia on the western edge of the city. There are 3 prepaid phones on the table in front of you, a laminated map of the border crossings, and the handwritten schedule written in code that you memorized and then burned. 2 younger kids, both 15, report to you now. You are their TO. You have been promoted to Halcon Coordinator. You no longer just watch. You manage a small section of the network. You collect information from the watchers below you, verify it, filter it, and pass it up to the plaza-level intelligence contact above you. You are the middle layer, the translator between the street and the operation. The work is relentless. The phones run 24 hours. You sleep in broken stretches. You stopped going to what remained of your social life. Your mother thinks you're working for a logistics company. Maybe she knows. Maybe she's decided not to know. There's a rule in this work. You never store information in the phone. You hold it in your head or write it in code and destroy the paper. You never send detailed messages. You speak in phrases. The organization is paranoid about DEA intercepts, about SEMAR operations, about rival cartel infiltration, and they should be. The Zetas used to own this corridor. Then the CDG. Now it's the Cartel del Noreste, a splinter faction, violent and territorial. Loyalties shift. The wrong word to the wrong person ends careers, ends lives. One of your lookouts, a kid named Pato, misses a check-in. An hour passes. Then 2. You call the number. Nothing. You don't know if he got picked up by Federales, or if a rival cell spotted him, or if he just fell asleep. But the silence is loud, and it presses on your chest like something heavy. El Contador calls you before you can report it. He already knows. He asks if Pato knew anything important. You say no. He was just a corner watcher. There's a pause. El Contador says that's good. He says you handled it correctly by not panicking. Pato comes back 2 days later. He says he had a family emergency and lost the phone in the chaos.
I'm on my way
You
now.
relay
Please
this
hurry.
up the chain. You don't know if they
Just
believe
hold
it.
on, okay?
You
I'm
don't ask. But from that day forward, you start sleeping lighter. You start looking at people differently. You start wondering who is watching you the way you once watched strangers on a rooftop. Level 4, Ian Lace, Communications Leeson. You are 20 years old and you have crossed the border legally. You have a tourist visa obtained through a connection inside a consulate office whose name you will never say out loud. You are in Laredo, Texas. You're staying in a mid-range hotel off Interstate 35, the kind with a lobby that smells like industrial cleaner and a pool nobody uses. You're wearing clean clothes. You have a real phone, not prepaid, because at this level you blend in. You look like a college student. You look like someone's cousin visiting from Monterey. Your role now is Enlace Liaison. You are the human bridge between the Mexican side of the operation and the distribution network inside the United States. You carry no drugs. You never touch product. What you carry is information, coordinates, timing windows, contact confirmations,
Confirmed.
the names
Cameras
of
are stable.
drivers, the names of
Good.
stash houses, encrypted messages in apps that delete themselves. You are a courier of knowledge, and knowledge at this level is more dangerous than any package. You meet twice a week with a contact they call El Americano, a U.S.-born man of Mexican descent, mid-30s, who works a legitimate job at a freight company. The meetings are never at the same place twice. A diner. A parking lot. Once,
This is
the
command.
back row of a
Network
movie
is under
theater
pressure.
during a
Systems
matinee
are strained.
showing. He
I
slides
understand.
you a
Monitor
folded
all
note
traffic.
or a USB drive and you pass him a phone with a voice memo. Nobody watching would see anything. That's the point. The money is different now. You're making $3,000 a week. Cash, delivered in a sealed envelope through a dead drop location. It feels unreal at first. Then it feels normal. That's the most dangerous part, when it starts feeling normal. One evening you're eating alone at a chain restaurant near the hotel, when you look up and see a man 2 tables over who has been there every time you've come in this week. Different clothes each time. Same face. You pay your check in cash, leave without finishing your food, and walk 3 blocks before calling upward. Your contact tells you to switch hotels and go dark for 48 hours. You lie on the bed of a different hotel that night and stare at the ceiling. You think about the man's face. You run it through your memory like a scan. Was he DEA? Arrival? Coincidence? You don't know. And not knowing is a specific kind of fear. The kind that doesn't spike, it just sits inside you and hums. You think about leaving. You've thought about it before. But you don't have an exit. Nobody gave you a contract with an end date. Nobody tells you when you're done. You either move up, get moved out, or disappear. Those are the options. Level 5, Jefe de Halcones, head of the Lookout Network. 2 years pass. You are 22. You are back in Mexico, in a safe house in a residential neighborhood in Nuevo Laredo that looks completely ordinary from the outside. A green metal door, a satellite dish, a car in the driveway. Inside, there are monitors, a white board covered in coded locations. 2 armed men in the living room who are not there for decoration. You are now Jefe de Halcones, the head of the Lookout Intelligence Network for a section of the Nuevo Laredo Plaza. You oversee more than 30 people. Some of them you've never met in person. Some of them are your age. Some of them are younger than you were when you started. The organization trusts you because you are methodical, because you never panicked, because you passed the tests they gave you without realizing they were tests. You are not a gunman. You are not a sicario. You are something they find harder to replace. Someone who understands information, who manages people, who can run a surveillance network without leaving traces. Your responsibilities are operational now. You maintain the Halcon grid across 3 bridge crossings. You coordinate with the plaza's smuggling teams on timing. When a convoy needs to move, you clear the corridor. You flood the observation points. Confirm law enforcement positions. Give the green light or the hold. When something goes wrong in the field, it comes to you first. But there is a cost to visibility. A rival cell from across the river has been moving into the corridor. There have been 2 incidents in the past month. A lookout found beaten 2 blocks from the bridge, a safe house tagged with a threatening message. The word comes down from above that the tension is escalating. You are told to tighten the network, report anything unusual, trust no one who hasn't been verified in the last 30 days. One of your mid-level coordinators, a man you brought up yourself, someone you trained, stops checking in. His last known position was near the river. 3 days later, someone finds his phone thrown in a drainage ditch. No body, just the phone. You report it. You keep working. You don't show what it does to you. That night, alone, you sit in a back room and look at the laminated map of the border crossings. The same type of map you first saw when you were 18. You trace the corridors with your finger. You've spent 6 years building something inside this machine, and you understand, for the first time with complete clarity, that the machine doesn't care about you. It will process you the same way it processed the lookout on the corner, the coordinator who disappeared, the kid named Pato. You are useful until you aren't. Level 6, the E-end. Cyclo-Kenchonode, a fur. The Cyclo-Kenchonos. It's a Tuesday morning when they come. Not cartel, not rivals, federales, SEMAR, the Mexican Navy Special Operations Branch, which has jurisdiction over organized crime and does not knock. They come through the green metal door with a ram and flashlights and shouting, and within 40 seconds you are face down on the floor of the safe house with your hands being zip-tied behind your back. You don't run. There's nowhere to go. You knew somewhere in the back of your mind that this moment existed. Every person who does this work knows the moment is somewhere in the future, waiting for them like a fixed point. You just never really believed it would arrive. They take the monitors, the whiteboard, the phones, the men in the living room, and you. In the back of the SEMAR vehicle, bouncing over uneven road, you stare at the metal floor. You think about the roof, the plastic chair, the cracked phone, the $150 a week. You think about how that felt like a beginning, like an opportunity. You think about how every step after that felt like a choice, a real one. even though you understand now that it wasn't. Every promotion was a door that closed behind you. You are 22 years old. You have no education on paper, no legal employment history, no way to explain where you've been or what you've done. Whatever happens next, prosecution, extradition, a deal, a cell, it is going to take years. Maybe all of your remaining years. That's not the worst part. The worst part is already happening. Right now, as your vehicle disappears down the road, a 15-year-old boy climbs onto the roof of a concrete blockhouse 3 blocks from the bridge. He has a cracked phone. He has a plastic chair. He's been told this is easy money. He's been told just to watch the street and call if anything moves. He doesn't know your name. He never will. He is you, and the street below him is empty, and the sky is still dark, and it begins again.